He stepped in without a second thought, just a single dad trying to help an overwhelmed mother wrangle 3 crying toddlers during the chaos of a delayed flight. Juggling diaper bags, sippy cups, and meltdowns in the middle of Denver International Airport, he had no idea who this woman was. He certainly couldn't have imagined that his simple act of kindness, helping her get those triplets safely onto their connecting flight, would completely transform the rest of his life. You see, what he didn't know was that she wasn't just another stressed passenger. She owned the entire terminal. Every gate, every shop, every runway, all of it belonged to her. And his spontaneous decision to lend a helping hand to a stranger in need was about to open doors he never knew existed. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Kennedy Scott had mastered the art of traveling light, but today felt different. Standing in the security line at Denver International Airport at 5:30 a.m., clutching a coffee that had already gone lukewarm and a boarding pass for a flight he wasn't entirely sure he wanted to take, Kennedy felt the weight of every decision that had brought him to this moment. The job interview in Seattle represented everything he thought he wanted. Senior software engineer position at a cutting-edge tech startup, 6-figure salary, stock options, and a chance to finally prove to everyone back in Burlington, Vermont, that leaving his small-town IT job hadn't been a mistake. But as he shuffled forward in line, watching bleary-eyed business travelers and stressed families navigate the early morning chaos, something gnawed at him. Kennedy was 34 years old, and for the past 6 years, his entire world had revolved around one person, his 8-year-old daughter Emma. She was currently staying with his sister back home, probably getting ready for school, her backpack covered in patches from every museum they'd visited together. Emma had been the center of his universe since her mother Sarah had walked out when Emma was just 2, leaving behind only a note about needing to find herself and discover who she was outside of motherhood. That day had shattered Kennedy's carefully planned life. He'd been working as a junior developer at a small firm in Burlington, living in a cozy apartment downtown, dreaming of weekend ski trips and quiet dinners with his little family. Instead, he'd found himself suddenly responsible for everything. Midnight fevers, grocery shopping with a toddler strapped to his chest, learning to braid hair from YouTube videos, and somehow managing to build a career while being the sole parent to the most important person in his life. The years that followed had been a careful balance of survival and love. Kennedy had taught himself to be patient during Emma's tantrums, creative during her bored phases, and endlessly resourceful when money was tight. He'd become an expert at making dinosaur-shaped pancakes, could recite every line from Emma's favorite animated movies, and had somehow figured out how to explain complex emotions to a developing mind while processing his own grief and exhaustion. But lately, as Emma had grown more independent and started asking questions about her future, about college and dreams and possibilities, Kennedy had begun to wonder if staying in Burlington was holding them both back. The small-town IT job paid enough to cover their modest apartment and Emma's needs, but there wasn't much left over for the kind of opportunities he wanted to give her. When the Seattle recruiter had called 3 weeks ago, Kennedy had almost hung up immediately. But something about the excitement in the woman's voice, the way she described the company's innovative projects and collaborative culture, had made him pause. "We've been following your work on that Burlington City database project," she'd said. "The efficiency improvements you implemented are exactly the kind of creative problem-solving we need here. Would you be interested in discussing opportunities?" Kennedy had looked around his cramped home office, with Emma's artwork taped to the walls and her stuffed animals scattered across the floor, and found himself saying yes to a phone interview. One conversation had led to another, and before he You knew it, they were flying him out for a final round of interviews. Emma had been characteristically supportive when he'd told her about the trip. "Seattle has really good pizza, right, Daddy?" she'd asked, completely missing the magnitude of what this opportunity might mean for their lives. "And they have that big market with the fish guys?" "Pike Place Market," Kennedy had confirmed, marveling at his daughter's ability to focus on the most important details. "Maybe we could visit sometime," she'd said casually, returning to her coloring book as if she hadn't just voiced the possibility that had been keeping Kennedy awake at night. Now, standing in the airport security line, Kennedy felt the familiar weight of single parenthood pressing against his chest. Every major decision in his life had to be filtered through one question: what was best for Emma? Moving to Seattle would mean better schools, more opportunities, and a salary that could actually build toward her future. But it also meant leaving behind the only community Emma had ever known, the neighbors who had watched her grow up, and the small-town stability that had been their anchor through the chaos of those early years. Kennedy's phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "Emma's having cereal for breakfast and asking when you'll be home. Flight going, okay?" He typed back quickly, still on the ground. "Tell her I'll bring her something cool from Seattle." As he approached the security checkpoint, Kennedy caught sight of his reflection in the glass partition. He looked tired, which wasn't unusual, but there was something else in his expression. A mixture of hope and terror that he recognized from every major transition in his life. The same look he'd worn when Emma took her first steps, when she'd started kindergarten, when she'd lost her first tooth and asked if the tooth fairy knew that it was just the two of them now. The security agent glanced at his boarding pass and driver's license, comparing the information with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this thousands of times. "Traveling for business or pleasure, Mr. Scott?" "Business," Kennedy answered, though the word felt inadequate for what this trip really represented. "Safe travels," the agent said, handing back his documents. Kennedy collected his laptop bag and shoes on the other side of security, checking his phone for the gate information. Flight 447 to Seattle, departing from gate B23. As he walked through the concourse, past coffee shops and newsstands already bustling with early morning travelers, Kennedy tried to imagine what his life might look like in 6 months. Would he be making this same walk as a routine commute? Would Emma be settling into a new school, making new friends, building a life in a city they'd only visited once? The truth was, Kennedy had been fighting a growing sense of restlessness for months. He loved Burlington, loved the community they'd built there, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was playing it safe at the expense of bigger possibilities. Emma deserved more than just stability. She deserved adventure, opportunity, and a father who wasn't afraid to take calculated risks for their future. But as he approached his gate and saw the departure board showing a 30-minute delay, Kennedy felt his carefully constructed confidence beginning to waver. What if he was making a mistake? What if uprooting Emma's life for his own ambitions was exactly the kind of selfish decision that had driven Sarah away? What if he was about to repeat his ex-wife's pattern of prioritizing personal dreams over parental responsibility? Kennedy found an empty seat near the gate and pulled out his phone, scrolling through the photos he always kept close. Emma at her school science fair, proudly displaying a volcano she'd built entirely by herself. Emma at the local swimming pool, grinning with missing front teeth after completing her first full lap. Emma asleep on the couch after a movie night, her head resting against his shoulder, completely trusting and safe. Whatever happened in Seattle, whatever opportunities this interview might or might not create, Kennedy knew that his true north would always be the 8-year-old girl who called him daddy and believed he could fix anything. The question was whether he had the courage to believe it himself. Kennedy was scrolling through emails on his phone, trying to distract himself from his pre-interview nerves, when the announcement crackled through the gate area speakers. The static-filled voice of a gate agent cut through the ambient noise of conversation and rolling luggage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an update on Flight 447 to Seattle. Due to mechanical issues that require immediate attention, we're looking at an extended delay of approximately 3 hours. We apologize for the inconvenience and will provide meal vouchers to all affected passengers. Kennedy's stomach dropped. 3 hours. His interview was scheduled for 2 p.m. Pacific time, and he'd built in what he thought was a comfortable buffer for delays and ground transportation. But 3 hours would put him dangerously close to missing the most important meeting of his professional life. Around him, the gate area erupted in a symphony of frustrated sighs, phone calls to travel agents, and heated conversations with airline staff. Business travelers immediately began rebooking on other airlines, their voices sharp with urgency, as they described critical meetings and non-negotiable deadlines. Families with small passengers started the complex calculation of whether to wait it out or abandon their travel plans entirely. Kennedy pulled out his phone and called the Seattle company's HR coordinator, his hands slightly trembling as he waited for her to pick up. "Hi, this is Jessica at Pinnacle Technologies." "Hi Jessica, this is Kennedy Scott. I'm supposed to interview with your team this afternoon, but my flight from Denver has been delayed by 3 hours due to mechanical issues. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story." There was a pause that felt like it lasted forever. "Oh no, Kennedy, let me check the schedule." He could hear typing in the background. "The problem is that today is the only day all 5 panel members are available before our quarterly board meeting next week. Mr. Harrison is flying to London tomorrow morning, and Sarah from Product Development is starting maternity leave on Friday." Kennedy's heart sank further. "Is there any possibility of rescheduling for later in the week?" "I wish there was, but honestly, with everyone's travel schedules and the board meeting prep, I don't think we could coordinate everyone again for at least 6 weeks. And I have to be transparent with you. We have 2 other final candidates, and the decision timeline is pretty aggressive." The implication was clear. Missed today's interview, and the opportunity was essentially gone. "I understand," Kennedy managed to say, though his throat felt tight. "Let me see what other flight options are available, and I'll call you back within the hour." "Of course. I really hope you can make it work, Kennedy. The team is genuinely excited to meet you." After hanging up, Kennedy immediately opened every travel app on his phone. Other airlines, different routes, connecting flights, anything that could get him to Seattle in time. But as he scrolled through options, his hope continued to diminish. Every direct flight was either fully booked or would arrive too late. The connecting flights would get him there, but barely, with no margin for error if there were any additional delays. The most promising option was a United flight leaving in 2 hours for San Francisco, with a tight 45-minute connection to Seattle. It would get him there by 1:30 p.m. local time, cutting it incredibly close, but technically possible. The problem was the cost. As a last-minute booking, the ticket would cost $1,247, nearly wiping out the small emergency fund he'd built up over the past year. Kennedy stared at the booking screen, his finger hovering over the purchase button. That emergency fund represented months of careful budgeting, skipped dinners out, and saying no to Emma when she asked for things they couldn't afford. It was their safety net, the thing that let him sleep at night, knowing that if Emma got sick, or the car broke down, or any of a dozen other single-parent emergencies happened, they'd be okay. But this interview represented something bigger than his current financial security. It represented the possibility of Emma never having to worry about whether they could afford summer camp or new school clothes. It represented college funds and family vacations and all the opportunities that a stable, well-paying job could provide. His phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "Emma wants to know if you've seen any mountains yet. She's very concerned about you flying over them safely." Kennedy smiled despite his stress, but the text also reminded him of the weight of his decision. This wasn't just about his career ambitions. It was about the life he could build for Emma. Every choice he made rippled through her world, and the pressure of being her only parent, her only advocate, her only source of stability, sometimes it felt overwhelming. He looked around the gate area, watching other travelers deal with their own disrupted plans. A businessman in an expensive suit was on his third phone call, his voice getting progressively more agitated as he tried to reschedule what sounded like $1 million deal. A family with teenage daughters was huddled together, the parents clearly stressed as they tried to figure out whether to continue to their vacation destination or head home. Everyone had somewhere important to be, something critical riding on their ability to get there on time. But for Kennedy, this felt different. This felt like one of those sliding door moments where his entire future, and Emma's, hung in the balance. He called his sister. "Hey, how's the big adventure going?" She answered cheerfully. "Not great. My flight's delayed 3 hours, and I might miss the interview entirely." "Oh, Kennedy, can you get on a different flight?" "Maybe, but it would cost over $1,000. And even then, it's not guaranteed I'd make it in time." There was a pause. "What does your gut tell you?" Kennedy looked out the floor to ceiling. Windows at the planes lined up on the tarmac, thinking about Emma's quiet confidence in him, about the years he'd spent playing it safe, about the dreams he'd put on hold to ensure their stability. "My gut tells me I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of making the wrong choice, of spending money we can't afford on a gamble that might not pay off, of disrupting Emma's life for my own ambitions, of—" He trailed off, not wanting to voice his deepest fear. "Of what, Kennedy?" "Of ending up like Sarah, of being so focused on what I think I want that I lose sight of what Emma needs." His sister was quiet for a moment. "Kennedy, do you know what Emma told me yesterday when I asked her what she wanted to be when she grows up?" "What?" "She said she wanted to be brave like her daddy. She said you taught her that being scared of something doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means you do it carefully." Kennedy felt his eyes water. Sometimes Emma's wisdom, filtered through her 8-year-old perspective, hit him harder than any advice from adults. "What would you tell Emma to do if she were in this situation?" His sister continued. Kennedy knew the answer immediately. He'd tell Emma to try. He'd tell her that some opportunities only come once, and that the regret of not trying is often worse than the disappointment of failing. He'd tell her that they were a team, and that taking calculated risks for their future was part of being responsible, not reckless, but knowing what he'd tell Emma and having the courage to follow that advice himself were two different things. As he sat in the busy gate area, surrounded by the chaos of disrupted travel plans and disappointed passengers, Kennedy realized that this moment was about more than just getting to Seattle. It was about the kind of person he wanted to be and the kind of example he wanted to set for his daughter. The question was, did he have the courage to bet on himself the way Emma always bet on him? Kennedy was still staring at his phone screen, finger hovering over the purchase button for the expensive alternative flight when he heard it. A sound that cut through all the ambient airport noise and went straight to his parental instincts. It was the distinctive cry of overwhelmed toddlers. Not just one, but multiple voices creating a chorus of distress that made every parent in the gate area turn their heads. About 20 feet away near the boarding desk, a young woman was struggling with what appeared to be an impossible situation. 3 identical toddlers, maybe 2.5 years old, were in various states of meltdown. One was sitting on the floor, tears streaming down her face as she clutched a stuffed elephant and wailed. Another was trying to climb out of a stroller while her mother attempted to wrestle her back in, and the third was standing beside a pile of scattered goldfish crackers, pointing at them and crying because they'd fallen. The woman, who couldn't have been more than 30, looked like she was one breath away from a complete breakdown herself. Her dark hair was escaping from what had probably started as a neat ponytail. Her white blouse had mysterious stains that Kennedy recognized as the inevitable result of traveling with small ones, and she was trying to juggle 3 different conversations. One with a gate agent, one on her phone, and one with her triplets. No, Sophia, we can't sit on the floor here," she was saying to the one with the elephant, while simultaneously telling someone on the phone, "I understand the delay, but we have a board meeting in Portland that absolutely cannot be rescheduled." Meanwhile, the gate agent was trying to explain something about seat assignments, while the third toddler, Kennedy could see her name tag said Maya, had now begun systematically dropping goldfish crackers one by one and watching them hit the ground. Kennedy's immediate thought was sympathy. He remembered those days with Emma when she was small and every public outing felt like an extreme sport. But this woman was dealing with 3 times the chaos, and she was clearly handling it alone. He could see other passengers glancing over with expressions ranging from sympathy to annoyance, but everyone was maintaining that careful distance that strangers keep in airports. The woman ended her phone call with visible frustration and crouched down to try to comfort the one sitting on the floor. "I know you're tired, sweetheart. Mama's tired too, but we need to get on the airplane to see Grandma, remember? Grandma, remember?" That's when Kennedy noticed the complication that was making everything worse. The gate agent was holding what looked like boarding passes and shaking her head apologetically. Kennedy couldn't hear the exact words, but he could read the situation. Something was wrong with their seat assignments. "Ma'am, I understand your frustration," the gate agent was saying, "but with the aircraft change due to the mechanical issues, we're operating with a smaller plane. Your original seats were configured for families, but this aircraft doesn't have the same layout. I can get you 3 seats, but they won't be together. 2 in row 12 and 1 in row 28. The woman's face went pale. "You want me to separate from one of my daughters? They're 2 years old. I can't be 30 rows away from one of them. I understand, but this is the best I can do with the current availability." Kennedy watched as the woman looked down at her 3 daughters, and he could see the moment her carefully held composure began to crack. The one with the elephant was still crying. Maya was now trying to eat a goldfish cracker off the floor, and the third daughter, who had been relatively calm, seemed to sense her mother's distress and started whimpering. Without thinking, Kennedy put his phone in his pocket and walked over. "Excuse me," he said gently to the gate agent. "I couldn't help but overhear. I'm traveling alone on this flight. Would it be possible to use my seat to help solve this family's seating situation?" The gate agent looked up, clearly surprised by the intervention. "Sir, are you sure? You're in 4A. That's a premium economy seat." "I'm sure," Kennedy said, then turned to the woman. "I'm Kennedy. I have an 8-year-old daughter, so I get it. Flying alone with little ones is tough enough without seating complications." The woman looked at him with a mixture of surprise, relief, and something that might have been suspicion. In her world, Kennedy would later learn, strangers rarely offered help without wanting something in return. "I'm Quinn," she said cautiously, "and these are Sophia, Maya, and Isla." She gestured to each triplet in turn. "Are you absolutely sure? I don't want to impose." "Not imposing at all," Kennedy said, crouching down to Sophia's level. She had stopped crying and was now staring at him with the intense curiosity that toddlers reserved for new people. "Hi, Sophia. I like your elephant. What's his name?" "Peanut," Sophia said quietly, holding the stuffed animal closer. "Peanut is A very good name for an elephant, Kennedy said seriously. Does he like to fly on airplanes? Sophia nodded, then whispered, but he gets scared. Well, you know what? When I was little, I had a stuffed bear named Captain Buttons, and he used to get scared on airplanes too. But then my dad taught me a secret about flying that made Captain Buttons feel much better. Want to know what it is? Sophia nodded eagerly, and even Maya had stopped dropping crackers to listen. Airplanes are actually really safe because they're driven by some of the smartest, most careful people in the world. And you know what else? When you're up in the clouds, you're closer to all the good things, like angels and birds and maybe even Santa Claus, depending on the time of year. Maya giggled, and Isla, who had been the calmest of the three, moved closer to hear better. But the most important thing, Kennedy continued, is that when Peanut gets scared, he just has to remember that he's got the bravest little girl in the world taking care of him. And brave girls like Sophia know that sometimes we have to do things that feel scary, but we do them because something wonderful is waiting on the other side. Quinn was staring at him now with undisguised amazement. How do you... you're really good with them. Kennedy stood up, smiling. 6 years of single dad training. You learn to speak fluent toddler pretty quickly when it's sink or swim. The gate agent, who had been watching this interaction with growing interest, cleared her throat. So, Mr. Scott, Kennedy Scott. Mr. Scott, if you're willing to move to seat 28E, I can put this family together in row 12, seats A, B, and C. It's actually a better configuration for traveling with multiple young passengers. Perfect, Kennedy said. Quinn looked like she might cry, but from relief rather than stress. I don't know how to thank you. This flight has been a disaster from the start, and you just... No thanks needed, Kennedy said. Just pay it forward, someday, when you see another parent struggling. As the gate agent printed new boarding passes, Kennedy helped Maya pick up the remaining goldfish crackers while Quinn gathered their scattered belongings. It was then that he noticed something that should have been a clue, but in the moment he was too focused on helping to pay attention. Quinn's phone kept buzzing with calls, and when she glanced at the caller ID, her expression grew tense in a way that suggested these weren't typical mom trying to travel calls. Everything okay? Kennedy asked, noticing her stress level rising again. Quinn hesitated, then said, just work stuff. I was supposed to be in Portland for an important meeting, and with this delay, she trailed off, looking at her daughters. Some days I wonder if I'm trying to balance too much. Kennedy understood that feeling completely. Single parenting? Recently, yes. And sometimes it feels like the world expects you to choose between being a good parent and being good at your job. You know? Kennedy knew exactly what she meant. It was the same impossible equation he'd been trying to solve for 6 years. For what it's worth, he said, from one single parent to another, you're doing great. Your daughters are lucky to have someone who cares enough to worry about getting it right. As they spoke, Kennedy didn't notice Quinn's phone screen when it lit up with an incoming call. If he had, he might have seen the caller ID that read Portland Terminal Operations and started asking questions. But he was too busy helping Isla tie her shoe and listening to Maya's very important story about how Peanut the elephant once met a real elephant at the zoo. The boarding announcement came 20 minutes later, and as Kennedy gathered his things to head to his new seat in the back of the plane, he felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. The simple satisfaction of doing the right thing without any expectation of return. He had no idea that this spontaneous act of kindness had just changed the trajectory of his entire life. What Kennedy Scott didn't know as he settled into seat 28E with his laptop bag and a complimentary bag of pretzels was that the woman he'd just helped, Quinn, wasn't just another stressed single mother trying to navigate air travel with toddlers. Her full name was Quinn Gonzalez, and she was the founder and CEO of Skybridge Aviation Holdings, the company that owned and operated Denver International Airport, Portland International Airport, and 12 other major aviation hubs across the western United States. At 32, Quinn had built an empire that most people twice her age would envy. What had started as a small aviation consulting firm 8 years ago had grown through strategic acquisitions and innovative partnerships into one of the most influential privately held airport management companies in North America. She oversaw operations that served over 40 million passengers annually, managed billions of dollars in infrastructure, and employed more than 15,000 people across her various properties. But none of that mattered when Sophia dropped her juice box and started crying because the apple juice was now splattered across the airplane floor. Quinn's rise to success had been meteoric and exhausting. Fresh out of her MBA from Northwestern, she'd identified inefficiencies in airport operations that everyone else had accepted as unavoidable. Her first consulting contract had been with a small regional airport in Colorado, where she'd redesigned their passenger flow systems and reduced average security wait times by 40%. Word spread quickly in the aviation industry, and within 2 years, she was fielding calls from airports across the country. The acquisition opportunities had come next. Older airport management companies with traditional mindsets and outdated systems found themselves struggling to adapt to changing passenger expectations and new technologies. Quinn's company, with its focus on customer experience and operational innovation, became an attractive partner for airports looking to modernize. She'd leveraged her early successes into increasingly larger deals, always reinvesting profits back into expansion. By the time she was 30, Quinn owned or managed airport operations that most travelers used without ever thinking about the complex systems running behind the scenes. Every time someone moved smoothly through security, found their gate easily, or grabbed a quick meal during a layover, there was a good chance they were benefiting from systems and improvements that Quinn's companies had implemented. But success had come with sacrifices that she was only beginning to understand. 3 years ago, Quinn had married David Chen, a fellow entrepreneur who ran a successful tech startup focused on logistics software. On paper, they were the perfect power couple, two ambitious, driven individuals who understood the demands of building companies and the rewards of taking calculated risks. Their wedding had been featured in Business Weekly as an example of when innovation meets innovation. The triplets had been a surprise. Quinn and David had talked about having kids eventually, but eventually had always seemed safely in the future. After the next acquisition, after the next round of funding, after they'd reached some undefined level of success that would make room for family life. Instead, Quinn found herself pregnant with 3 babies while in the middle of negotiating the largest deal of her career, the acquisition of Portland International Airport's management contract. For a while, it had seemed manageable. Quinn worked, up until the day she went into labor, attending board meetings via video call from her hospital bed. David rearranged his schedule to be more hands-on than his own father had been. They hired a full-time nanny, then a second one when they realized that 3 infants required more than 1 additional adult to maintain any semblance of normalcy. But as the girls grew from infants to toddlers, the fundamental tension between Quinn's professional responsibilities and her desire to be present for her daughters became impossible to ignore. Airport emergencies didn't happen on a convenient schedule. System failures, weather delays, security incidents, and union negotiations all required her immediate attention. Often at times, when she'd planned to be reading bedtime stories or attending toddler music classes. David, dealing with his own professional pressures, had grown increasingly resentful of what he saw as Quinn's inability to delegate. "You act like the entire aviation industry will collapse if you don't personally oversee every decision," he'd said during one of their increasingly frequent arguments. "We have employees for a reason." But Quinn couldn't explain to him what he, despite his own entrepreneurial success, didn't seem to understand that the responsibility she felt for her companies wasn't just professional, it was personal. Every employee who depended on their job, every passenger whose travel experience was shaped by her decisions, every investor who had trusted her with their money, they all felt like extensions of her family. Delegating meant potentially letting them down, and Quinn had built her entire identity around being someone who didn't let people down. The breaking point had come 6 months ago during a crisis at their Denver hub. A severe winter storm had grounded flights for 3 days, stranding thousands of passengers in the terminal. Quinn had spent 72 hours at the airport, coordinating emergency accommodations, food services, and rebooking efforts. She'd come home exhausted to find David packing a suitcase. "I married a partner," he'd said quietly, "but I've been living with the CEO who happens to have kids on the side." The divorce had been swift and, by mutual agreement, amicable. David had moved to San Francisco to focus on expanding his own company. They shared custody of the girls, with David taking them every other weekend and for extended visits during his lighter work periods. But the practical reality was that Quinn's schedule was more flexible than his, which meant she was the primary parent most of the time, which brought her to this moment, flying to Portland for an emergency board meeting about a potential acquisition that could expand her company's reach into international markets, while simultaneously trying to comfort Sophia, who had decided that airplane bathrooms were too scary to use, and Maya, who was insisting that Peanut the elephant needed his own seatbelt. The irony wasn't lost on Quinn that she owned the airport she'd departed from this morning, would own the airport she was flying to, and yet she felt completely powerless to control the chaos of traveling with 3 toddlers on a delayed flight. The phone calls that had been buzzing throughout the morning weren't just work calls, they were calls from board members, operations directors, and crisis management teams across her network of airports. A labor dispute in Seattle, a security system malfunction in Phoenix, and weather delays in Denver were all requiring her attention simultaneously. But every time she tried to focus on a conversation, one of her daughters would need something, and Quinn would find herself trying to negotiate million-dollar contracts while wiping apple juice off airplane seats. What struck her most about Kennedy's intervention wasn't just his kindness, though that had been remarkable, but his complete lack of expectation for anything in return. In Quinn's world, every gesture came with an agenda. Business partners helped each other because they wanted future favors. Employees went above and beyond because they wanted promotions. Even social interactions often felt transactional, as if everyone was constantly calculating the value of their relationships. But Kennedy had given up his premium seat, entertained her daughters, and offered genuine empathy without asking a single question about what she did for work or how he might benefit from knowing her. When was the last time someone had helped her simply because she needed help? As the plane taxied toward takeoff, Quinn looked back toward the rear of the aircraft, where Kennedy was probably settling in for the flight. He was reading something on his phone, occasionally glancing out the window, completely unaware that the woman whose day he'd just saved was responsible for the airport they were currently departing from. Her phone buzzed again with a call from her Portland operations director. "Quinn, I know you're in the air soon, but we need to discuss the Peterson Group's proposal before the board meeting. They're pushing for an answer by close of business today." Quinn glanced at her daughters, who were finally calm and starting to show signs of being ready for naps, then made a decision that surprised even her. "Marcus, I'm going to call you back after we land. Right now, I need to focus on being present for my daughters." She hung up and turned off her phone. For the first time in months, Quinn Gonzalez, CEO of a multi-billion-dollar aviation empire, was going to spend 2 hours thinking about nothing more complex than whether Sophia needed another snack and whether Maya's elephant was comfortable in his makeshift airplane bed. And it felt like the most important meeting she'd attended in years. The flight to Portland turned out to be one of the most peaceful 2 hours Quinn had experienced in months. With her phone turned off and her daughters finally settled, Sophia clutching Peanut while dozing against the window, Maya coloring in an activity book, and Isla quietly stacking goldfish crackers into elaborate towers, Quinn found herself in the unusual position of having nothing to do but think. She kept glancing toward the back of the plane, where Kennedy was sitting in the seat that should have been hers. Through the gap between seats, she could see him working on what looked like a presentation on his laptop, occasionally pausing to look out the window or jot notes in a small notebook. There was something about his focused calm that intrigued her. Most of the high-achieving people in her world operated with a constant undercurrent of urgency, always juggling multiple priorities, always slightly on edge. But Kennedy seemed settled, present, like he was exactly where he was supposed to be, even crammed into a middle seat in the back of the plane. When the flight attendant came by with drinks, Quinn made a decision that would have surprised anyone who knew her professionally. Instead of reviewing her notes for the Portland board meeting or returning the 17 missed calls on her phone, she unbuckled her seatbelt and walked toward the back of the aircraft. Kennedy looked up in surprise when she appeared beside his row. "Hey, how are the girls doing?" "Finally settled, thanks to you," Quinn said. "I wanted to properly thank you, and also, well, this might sound strange, but I wanted to ask you something." Kennedy closed his laptop partway, giving her his full attention. "Sure, what's up?" Quinn hesitated, then decided on honesty. "You said you're a single dad, and you mentioned you've been doing it for 6 years. How do you balance everything? The guilt, the constant feeling like you're not doing enough, the way every decision feels like it has enormous consequences." Kennedy studied her face, recognizing something in her expression that he'd seen in his own mirror countless times. "Sit down," he said, gesturing to the empty aisle seat beside him. "This conversation requires more than standing in an airplane aisle." Quinn glanced back toward her daughters, who were still contentedly occupied, then sat down. "I shouldn't be away from them for long." "They're fine," Kennedy said gently. "Sometimes stepping back for 5 minutes helps you be more present when you return. I learned that the hard way." "How so?" Kennedy was quiet for a moment, organizing his thoughts. "When Emma's mom left, I went into what I call survival mode. I thought being a good parent meant never taking my eyes off Emma, never prioritizing anything else, never allowing myself any space to breathe or think. I was so terrified of messing up that I was actually making everything harder for both of us." Quinn nodded. This felt familiar. Emma was about 3 when I realized I was exhausted all the time. She was picking up on my stress, and neither of us was actually happy despite how hard I was trying. That's when my sister sat me down and told me something that changed everything. What did she say? She said that Emma didn't need a perfect parent. She needed a human parent, someone who modeled how to handle mistakes, how to take care of yourself, how to ask for help when you need it. Kennedy paused. She pointed out that I was so busy protecting Emma from every possible disappointment that I wasn't teaching her how to be resilient. Quinn felt something tighten in her chest. But how do you know when you're making the right choices? When you're a single parent, every decision affects your kid directly. There's no partner to balance you out or catch what you miss. "That's the thing," Kennedy said. "I used to think being a single parent meant I had to be twice as good as 2 parents combined. But actually, it means accepting that I'm going to get some things wrong. And that's okay as long as I'm getting the important things right. Which are making sure Emma knows she's loved unconditionally, making sure she feels safe, teaching her that it's okay to have feelings, even difficult ones, and showing her that challenges don't have to break you, they can make you stronger and more compassionate." Quinn was quiet for a long moment. "What about your own dreams? Your career? I mean, you're on this flight for a job interview, right? How do you balance pursuing opportunities for yourself with being present for Emma?" Kennedy smiled. "You know, 6 months ago, I would have said that Emma's needs always come first, period. But lately, I've been thinking about what kind of example I'm setting for her. If I never take any risks, never pursue my own growth, never show her that adults can be brave and try new things, what am I teaching her about her own possibilities? So this job interview is terrifying, Kennedy admitted. It would mean moving Emma away from everything familiar, starting over in a new city, taking a job that pays well but demands more hours. But it would also mean better schools for her, more opportunities, and maybe most importantly, showing her that we don't have to let fear make our decisions for us. Quinn felt tears prick at her eyes, though she wasn't entirely sure why. You talk about her like she's your partner in life decisions. In a way, she is. Obviously, I don't burden her with adult concerns, but I do try to include her in thinking about our future. She knows about this interview. She knows it might mean changes. And she told me something last week that I keep thinking about. What? She said, "Daddy, maybe the world wants to give you something good, and you just have to be brave enough to catch it." Kennedy shook his head. "Sometimes I think she's wiser than I am." Quinn laughed, but it came out a little shaky. "My girls are two, so they're not quite giving life advice yet. But sometimes when I'm with them, I feel like I can see who I used to be before I became so calculated about everything." "What do you mean?" "I used to make decisions based on what felt right, what excited me, what seemed like it would make a positive difference. But somewhere along the way, I started making decisions based on what was safest, what would generate the best return, what would protect what I'd already built." Quinn paused. "I'm successful by every external measure, but I'm not sure I'm happy. And I worry that my daughters are going to grow up thinking that's normal, that success and happiness are different things." Kennedy looked at her carefully. "What would make you happy?" The question caught Quinn off guard. When was the last time someone had asked her that? When was the last time she'd even asked herself? I think I'd be happy if I could find a way to be good at my job without it consuming my entire identity. If I could be present for my daughters without feeling guilty about the work that's not getting done. If I could meet someone who sees me as a whole person, not just what I can do for them professionally." "That doesn't sound impossible," Kennedy said, "doesn't it? Everyone I know in business talks about work-life balance like it's a myth, like you have to choose between being successful and being fulfilled." "Maybe you know the wrong people," Quinn laughed. "Maybe I do." From the front of the plane, she heard Sophia calling, "Mama, where's Mama?" "I should get back," Quinn said, standing up. "Quinn," Kennedy said, and she turned back. "For what it's worth, from what I've seen today, you're a really good mum. Your daughters are lucky to have someone who cares enough to question whether they're doing it right." As Quinn walked back to her seat, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time. The sense that she wasn't alone in figuring out how to build a life that worked. Kennedy's perspective on parenting, on balancing personal growth with responsibility to his daughter, on making decisions from courage rather than fear, it all resonated with questions she'd been struggling with for months. But more than that, she'd felt seen in a way that had nothing to do with her professional accomplishments. Kennedy had asked about her happiness, not her business strategy. He'd listened to her concerns about motherhood without immediately offering solutions or trying to network with her. When she sat back down next to Sophia, who immediately climbed into her lap for a snuggle, Quinn made a mental note. She wanted to find a way to thank Kennedy properly, not just for giving up his seat, but for reminding her that there were people in the world who led with kindness and authenticity. She had no idea yet how she might do that, but Quinn Gonzalez had built a business empire by identifying opportunities and acting on them. And Kennedy Scott, though he didn't know it yet, had just become the most interesting opportunity she'd encountered in years. When the plane touched down at Portland International Airport, Kennedy felt the familiar mix of anticipation and anxiety that came with stepping into unknown territory. As passengers began gathering their belongings and shuffling toward the exit, he glanced at his phone. 12:45 p.m. local time. His interview at Pinnacle Technologies was scheduled for 2 p.m., which gave him just enough time to catch a rideshare to downtown Seattle if everything went perfectly. But as Kennedy stood in the aisle waiting for his turn to deplane, he realized that perfectly was a relative term. Gwyn was struggling to gather 3 toddlers, multiple bags, a stroller, and what appeared to be half the contents of a toy store scattered across their seats. Other passengers were growing visibly impatient as the line stalled, and Kennedy could see Gwyn's stress level rising by the second. Without thinking, he made his way forward through the crowd. "Here, let me help," he said, appearing beside their row, just as Maya decided she absolutely could not leave the airplane without retrieving a crayon that had rolled under the seat in front of them. "Kennedy, you really don't need to," Gwyn started, but he was already crouched down, fishing the crayon out while simultaneously entertaining Isla with a game of peekaboo to prevent her from joining Maya's meltdown. "Got it," he said, handing the crayon to Maya, who immediately stopped crying and smiled at him like he'd just performed magic. As they slowly made their way off the plane, Kennedy carrying Sophia while Gwyn managed the stroller and bags, he couldn't help but notice the deference with which airport staff treated Gwyn. A gate agent immediately approached to offer assistance. Ground crew members nodded respectfully as she passed. Even the usually harried-looking customer service representatives seemed to straighten up when they saw her. Kennedy assumed it was the kind of treatment any traveling mother with triplets might receive. Extra courtesy from people who recognized a challenging situation. He had no idea that every single person working in this terminal was, technically, working for the woman walking beside him. "Mr. Scott?" a voice called out as they reached the main terminal. Kennedy turned to see a man in a crisp suit approaching with what looked like an airport employee badge. "I'm Marcus Chen from Terminal Operations. Ms. Gonzalez asked me to make sure you had everything you needed for your connecting travel." Kennedy blinked in confusion. "I'm sorry. I think there's been a mistake. I don't have a connecting flight. I need to get to Seattle for—" "Actually," Gwyn interrupted, shifting Isla to her other hip, "I took the liberty of making a phone call while we were deplaning. I hope you don't mind, but when you mentioned your interview timing during our conversation, I realized there might be a better solution than rideshare." Kennedy looked between Gwyn and Marcus, feeling like he'd missed several steps in a conversation. "I don't understand." Gwyn smiled, and Kennedy caught a glimpse of something in her expression, a confidence and authority that seemed at odds with the frazzled single mother he'd been helping all morning. "Portland has an excellent helicopter shuttle service to Seattle. It's faster than driving, and given your interview timing, I thought it might be helpful." "A helicopter?" Kennedy's eyes widened. "I can't afford—" "It's handled," Gwyn said simply. "Consider it a thank you for helping us today." Kennedy stood in the middle of the bustling terminal, holding Sophia while Maya tugged at his pants leg and asked if helicopters were loud. Nothing about this situation made sense. Who was this woman who could casually arrange helicopter transportation? With a phone call? And more importantly, why was she going to such extraordinary lengths to help a stranger? "Gwyn, I really appreciate the thought, but I can't accept something like that. It's too much." "Can I ask you something?" Gwyn said, stepping closer so they could speak without the girls overhearing. "If Emma was in a situation where someone could help her achieve something important, something that could change her future, would you want her to accept that help?" Kennedy hesitated. "That's different." "How?" "Because Emma is—" He paused, realizing he was about to say, "Because Emma is special," which would imply that he wasn't worthy of the same consideration. Quinn seemed to read his thoughts. "Because Emma matters to you the way this opportunity matters to her future. Kennedy, I don't know you very well yet, but I know that you gave up your seat today without a second thought. I know that you spent 20 minutes entertaining my daughters instead of focusing on your own stress about this interview. I know that you offered genuine advice about parenting when I needed to hear it most." She shifted Eisler again, then continued. "Sometimes accepting help gracefully is its own form of kindness. It lets the other person feel useful, and it creates a connection between people who might otherwise just pass through each other's lives without making any impact." Marcus cleared his throat politely. "The helicopter is actually already scheduled. Sir, the pilot is waiting at the executive terminal. If you'd like to make your interview on time, we should probably head over there now." Kennedy looked around the terminal, taking in the organized chaos of travelers, the efficiency of the staff, the sense that this was a place where important things happened smoothly. Then he looked at Quinn, who was watching him with an expression of patient hopefulness. "Why are you doing this?" he asked quietly. Quinn was quiet for a moment, bouncing Isla gently as the toddler started to get restless. "Can I be completely honest with you?" Kennedy nodded. "Because in the past year I've met hundreds of people who wanted things from me. Business partnerships, investment opportunities, networking connections, endorsements. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone wants something. But you helped me today simply because I needed help. No questions about what I do for work. No hints about mutual benefits. No business cards exchanged." She paused, looking down at Sophia, who had fallen asleep against Kennedy's shoulder. "I'd forgotten what it felt like to meet someone who leads with kindness instead of strategy. So maybe I'm helping you because you reminded me that there are still good people in the world. Or maybe I'm helping you because you deserve to make that interview and show them what kind of person they'd be." "Lucky to hire." Marcus checked his watch discreetly. "Ma'am, if Mr. Scott is going to make his 2 p.m. appointment, we should really get moving." Kennedy felt Emma's voice in his head. "Maybe the world wants to give you something good, and you just have to be brave enough to catch it." "Okay," he said, surprising himself, "but on one condition." "What's that?" "You give me your contact information so I can properly thank you for this, and so I can let you know how the interview goes." Quinn smiled. The first genuinely relaxed smile Kennedy had seen from her all day. "Deal." As Marcus led them toward the executive terminal, Kennedy found himself in the surreal situation of walking through restricted airport areas he'd never known existed. They passed through security checkpoints where guards waved them through with respectful nods, took elevators that required special key cards, and finally emerged onto a tarmac where a sleek helicopter waited with its rotors slowly spinning. "This is incredible," Kennedy said, still carrying Sophia, who had woken up and was staring at the helicopter with wide-eyed wonder. "Helicopter!" Maya shouted with delight. "It's like a giant flying toy!" The pilot, a professional-looking woman in her 40s, approached with a warm smile. "Mr. Scott, I'm Captain Rodriguez. We'll have you in Seattle in 45 minutes. Are you ready for your adventure?" As Kennedy prepared to hand Sophia back to Quinn, the little girl wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered, "Thank you for helping, Mama Kennedy. You're really nice." Quinn's eyes filled with tears as she took her daughter back. "She's right, you know. You are really nice. And whatever happens in that interview, they'd be crazy not to hire you." "Thank you," Kennedy said, meaning it more than he'd ever meant anything. "For all of this, I don't even know how to begin to repay you." "Just be yourself in that interview," Quinn said. "That's all the repayment I need." As Kennedy climbed into the helicopter, waving goodbye to 3 little girls who had somehow become important to him in the span of a single morning, he had no idea that he was about to discover an even more shocking truth about the woman who had just changed his life. The helicopter lifted off, giving him a bird's-eye view of Portland International Airport sprawling below them. He could see Quinn and her daughters getting into a black car at the terminal entrance, and for a moment, Kennedy felt a strange sense of loss, as if he was leaving behind something important that he hadn't quite understood. But as the helicopter banked toward Seattle, Kennedy forced himself to focus on the opportunity ahead. Whatever this interview brought, whatever this job might mean for his and Emma's future, it was happening because a stranger had chosen to be extraordinarily kind to him. He just wished he understood why. The helicopter ride to Seattle was unlike anything Kennedy had ever experienced. As the city skyline came into view, with Mount Rainier standing majestically in the distance, he felt a mix of awe and surreal disbelief. Just 8 hours ago, he'd been standing in a Burlington coffee shop, worried about whether his interview outfit was professional enough. Now he was flying over the Pacific Northwest in a private helicopter, courtesy of a woman whose generosity seemed to know no bounds. Captain Rodriguez set them down at a private helipad near downtown Seattle with the precision of someone who'd done this thousands of times. "Mr. Scott," she said as Kennedy gathered his things, "there's a car waiting to take you to your interview. Good luck, and congratulations on having such thoughtful friends." Friends. The word stuck with Kennedy as he thanked Captain Rodriguez and made his way to the waiting sedan. Was that what Quinn was now? A friend? The connection he felt to her and her daughters seemed too immediate and profound for such a simple label, but he couldn't quite define what else it might be. The driver, a professional man in his 50s, introduced himself as James. "Pinnacle Technologies on 4th Avenue, correct? We'll have you there in 15 minutes. Ms. Gonzalez wanted me to make sure you arrived relaxed and on time." Again, Kennedy found himself marveling at Quinn's attention to detail. She'd thought of everything: transportation, timing, even his state of mind. But beneath his gratitude was a growing sense of unease. This level of coordinated assistance felt almost institutional, as if Quinn had resources and connections that went far beyond what a typical single mother, even a successful one, might possess. Pinnacle Technologies occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming downtown tower. As Kennedy rode the elevator to the 32nd floor, he tried to push thoughts of Quinn aside and focus on the opportunity ahead. But it was difficult to concentrate when his morning had been so extraordinary that the high-stakes job interview now felt almost mundane by comparison. The Pinnacle reception area was everything Kennedy had imagined. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay, modern furniture that probably cost more than his monthly rent, and a reception desk that looked like it belonged in a spacecraft. The receptionist, a young woman with an efficient smile, checked him in and offered coffee or water while he waited. "Mr. Scott?" a voice called from across the lobby. Kennedy turned to see a woman in her 40s approaching, hand extended in greeting. "I'm Jessica Chen. We spoke on the phone. I'm so glad you made it despite the flight complications." "Thank you. I have to admit, the day turned out better than I expected." Jessica led him through a maze of open-concept workspaces and glass-walled conference rooms. "I'm impressed you managed to get here so efficiently. Seattle traffic from the airport can be brutal." Kennedy almost mentioned the helicopter, then thought better of it. How would he explain that without sounding either like he was showing off or completely out of touch with reality? The interview team was waiting in a corner conference room with views of the Sound. 5 people, exactly as Jessica had described during their phone conversation: the CTO, the lead developer, the product manager, the head of HR, and Sarah from product development, who was indeed visibly pregnant and looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. "Kennedy Scott," said the CTO, a man in his 50s with grey hair and an easy smile. "I'm David Harrison. Thank you for making the trip on such short notice." As the introductions went around the table, Kennedy felt his nerves settle into the familiar rhythm of professional conversation. This he could handle. Technical challenges, problem-solving scenarios, discussions about coding frameworks, and user experience. This was his territory. "So tell us," said the lead developer, a woman named Alex, "about the Burlington City Database project. Our research suggests you achieved some impressive efficiency improvements with limited resources." Kennedy launched into the story he'd prepared, but as he spoke, he found himself thinking about Quinn's advice from the airplane. "Just be yourself in that interview. That's all the repayment I need." Instead of delivering the polished, rehearsed version of his accomplishments, Kennedy found himself telling the real story. The frustrations with outdated systems, the late nights spent debugging code while Emma did homework at his kitchen table, the satisfaction of finally creating something that made people's lives a little easier. The city clerks were spending 4 hours a day on data entry that should have taken 30 minutes, he said. But the real motivation wasn't efficiency metrics. It was watching Mrs. Patterson, who's worked in that office for 25 years, finally be able to leave work on time to have dinner with her grandkids. Something shifted in the room. The questions became more engaged, more collaborative. Instead of feeling like he was being evaluated, Kennedy began to feel like he was solving problems with potential colleagues. "What interests you about working in a startup environment?" asked Sarah from product development. Kennedy thought about Emma, about the conversation he'd had with Quinn, about balancing personal dreams with parental responsibility. "I want my daughter to see that it's possible to take thoughtful risks, that you can pursue growth and opportunity without compromising your values or the people who depend on you." David Harrison leaned forward. "Tell us about balancing work and single parenthood. This position would require occasional long hours and some travel." This was the question Kennedy had been dreading. In most interviews, admitting that your 8-year-old daughter was your top priority felt like career suicide. But Quinn's words echoed in his mind. Sometimes accepting help gracefully is its own form of kindness. "Emma is my priority," Kennedy said simply, "but I've learned that being a good parent doesn't mean never taking risks or pursuing opportunities. It means being thoughtful about how those decisions affect her and making sure she's part of the conversation in age-appropriate ways." He paused, then continued. "This opportunity would mean better schools for Emma, more resources for her future, and the chance to show her that when you work hard and treat people well, good things can happen. But it would also mean helping her adapt to a new city and new routines. We've talked about it and she's excited about the adventure." Alex smiled. "How does an 8-year-old feel about Seattle?" "She's mostly excited about Pike Place Market and the possibility of seeing orcas," Kennedy said, and the room erupted in laughter. For the next hour, they dove deep into technical challenges. Kennedy found himself sketching database schemas on the whiteboard, walking through optimization strategies and collaborating on solutions to problems the team was currently facing. It felt less like an interview and more like the kind of work session he'd always hoped to be part of. "One final question," David Harrison said, as the formal interview began to wind down. "What questions do you have for us?" Kennedy had prepared a list, but in the moment only one question felt important. What kind of support does Pinnacle provide for employees who are balancing career growth with family responsibilities? Not just policies on paper, but the actual culture around those choices. Sarah from product development lit up. "That's actually one of the things I love most about working here. When I told David I was pregnant, his first question wasn't about maternity leave logistics. It was about how we could structure my role to set me up for success, both as a professional and as a new mom. We've learned that people do their best work when they feel supported as whole humans, not just as employees," David added. "Work-life integration is a real priority here, not just a buzzword." As the interview concluded and Kennedy shook hands, With the team, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years, the sense that he'd found where he belonged professionally. The technical challenges excited him. The team dynamic felt collaborative and supportive, and most importantly, he could envision Emma thriving in Seattle. Walking back through the lobby toward the elevator, Kennedy pulled out his phone to text Quinn. "Interview went better than I could have hoped. Thank you again for making this possible." Her response came back almost immediately. "I'm so glad. Can't wait to hear details. Girls are asking about nice Kennedy from the airplane." As Kennedy rode the elevator down to meet James for the ride, back to the airport, he felt overwhelmed by gratitude, not just for Quinn's extraordinary generosity, but for the reminder that kindness could create opportunities in ways he'd never imagined. He had no idea that Quinn was, at that very moment, sitting in a Portland conference room, making decisions that would affect his future in ways that went far beyond a single job interview. But he was about to find out. Kennedy was halfway back to Portland when his phone rang. The caller ID showed David Harrison from Pinnacle Technologies, and Kennedy's heart immediately started racing. It had only been 2 hours since the interview ended. Callbacks usually took days, sometimes weeks. A phone call this quick could mean anything. "Hello, this is Kennedy." "Kennedy, it's David Harrison. I hope I'm not interrupting your travel back." "To Vermont?" "Not at all. I'm actually still in the air, heading to Portland." Kennedy decided not to mention that he was in a helicopter for the second time in one day. "Perfect. I'll keep this brief then, but I couldn't wait until Monday to call. The team was unanimous. We'd love to offer you the senior software engineer position." Kennedy's breath caught. "Are you serious?" David laughed. "Completely serious. Your technical skills are exactly what we need, but more than that, your approach to problem solving and your perspective on work-life integration are exactly the kind of leadership we want on our team." Sarah from product development said you asked the best questions she's heard in any interview. Wow, thank you. This is incredible. The formal offer will come through HR on Monday with all the details. Salary, benefits, relocation assistance, start date options. But I wanted you to know as soon as possible that we're hoping you'll say yes. After hanging up, Kennedy sat in stunned silence, watching the Oregon landscape pass below. 6 months ago, he'd been worried about making rent on their small Burlington apartment. Now, he had an offer for a job that would triple his salary and provide Emma with opportunities he'd only dreamed of giving her. But as the helicopter began its descent toward Portland, Kennedy's elation mixed with a deeper emotion he hadn't expected. A profound need to share this moment with Quinn. She'd made this possible, but more than that, she'd reminded him to believe in himself. Her advice to just be yourself had transformed what could have been a disaster into the best professional moment of his life. Captain Rodriguez set them down at Portland International with the same smooth precision as before. As Kennedy gathered his things, she turned to him with a smile. "Judging by your expression, I'm guessing the interview went well?" "Better than well. I got the job." "Congratulations. I'll let Ms. Gonzalez know when I see her." Kennedy paused. "You'll see her? Do you work for her?" Captain Rodriguez looked confused for a moment, then seemed to realize something. "You don't know, do you?" "Know what?" "Who Quinn Gonzalez is, what she does." Kennedy felt a strange flutter of apprehension. "She's a single mom. She said she had a work meeting in Portland." Captain Rodriguez studied his face carefully. "Mr. Scott, Quinn Gonzalez is the CEO of Skybridge Aviation Holdings. She owns this airport. She owns the airport you flew out of this morning. She owns 12 other major aviation hubs across the western United States." The words hit Kennedy like a physical blow. He sat down heavily on the helicopter's passenger seat, trying to process what he'd just heard. "She owns airports." The woman whose seat you gave up this morning, who you helped with her triplets, who arranged your helicopter transportation, she's one of the most powerful people in the aviation industry. And apparently, she didn't tell you. Kennedy's mind raced back through the day's events, recontextualizing everything he'd experienced. The deference of airport staff, Marcus Chen from terminal operations, the easy arrangement of helicopter transportation, the executive terminal, the restricted areas they'd walked through like they owned the place, because Quinn did own the place. "Oh my God," Kennedy whispered. Captain Rodriguez's expression softened. "She specifically asked me not to mention it unless you asked directly. She said it was important to her that you got to know her as Quinn, not as a CEO." Kennedy pulled out his phone with shaking hands and called Quinn's number. She answered on the second ring. "Kennedy, how did the interview go?" "I've been thinking about you all afternoon." "Quinn," his voice came out rougher than he'd intended. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." There was a pause. "Okay, what's wrong?" "Do you own Portland International Airport?" The silence that followed seemed to last forever. "Kennedy, do you own the airport I flew out of this morning? Do you own the company that just flew me to Seattle in a helicopter that probably costs more than I make in 5 years?" "Yes." Her voice was quiet. "I do." Kennedy closed his eyes, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath him. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Can we talk about this in person? I'm still at the airport. I've been waiting for you to get back." "You've been waiting for me?" "Terminal C, near the baggage claim. There's a family seating area that's usually quiet this time of day. Please, Kennedy, let me explain." 20 minutes later, Kennedy found Quinn sitting in a corner of the seating area, her 3 daughters playing quietly with coloring books at her feet. She looked up when she saw him approaching, and Kennedy could see anxiety and something that might have been fear in her expression. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi." Kennedy sat down across from her, maintaining some distance. "So, you're a CEO?" "I am. Of a company that owns airports?" "Yes. Yes." Kennedy looked down at Sophia, Maya, and Isla, who seemed completely oblivious to the tension between the adults. "When you said you had a work meeting in Portland, you weren't talking about showing up to someone else's conference room." "No, I was talking about a board meeting in the executive offices on the top floor of this terminal. A meeting about a potential acquisition that could expand our international operations." Kennedy shook his head. "I helped the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company get her kids on an airplane. You helped a single mother who was having the worst travel day of her life," Quinn corrected gently. "Everything else is just context." "Context." Kennedy's voice rose slightly. Then he caught himself and lowered it, glancing at the girls. "Quinn, I spent all day feeling guilty about accepting your help because I thought you were just being incredibly generous. Now I find out that helicopter ride was probably the equivalent of me buying you a cup of coffee." Quinn's eyes flashed. "Is that what you think? That this was easy for me? That helping you was just some casual gesture from someone with too much money? Wasn't it?" Quinn stood up, began pacing in the small space. "Kennedy, do you know how many people I meet every week who want something from me? Investors, politicians, business partners, employees, everyone has an agenda. Everyone sees CEO first, person second." She stopped pacing, looked directly at him. "When you gave up your seat this morning, you had no idea who I was. When you helped me calm down Sophia, when you gave Maya and Isla your cookies, when you listened to me talk about single parenting, none of that was influenced by what I could do for your career or your bank account." Kennedy felt some of his anger deflating, but the sense of betrayal remained. "So why not tell me? Why let me think you were someone you're not?" "Because I wasn't being someone I'm not." Quinn's voice cracked slightly. Everything I told you about struggling with work-life balance, about feeling guilty for not being present enough with my daughters, about wanting to meet someone who sees me as a whole person, all of that was true. She sat back down, closer, to him this time. Kennedy, I have been desperately lonely for authentic human connection. Do you have any idea what it's like to wonder if people like you for who you are or for what you can give them? Kennedy looked at her, really looked at her. He saw the same exhausted single mother he'd met this morning, but now he also saw the weight of enormous responsibility, the burden of never being able to turn off the part of her brain that was. Always calculating, always strategizing, always aware that her decisions affected thousands of people. When you arranged the helicopter, he said quietly, was that Quinn the person or Quinn the CEO? Both, she admitted. I have resources that most people don't have, and I wanted to use them to help someone who'd been kind to me. But Kennedy, the reason I wanted to help you had nothing to do with business. It was because you reminded me that there are still people in the world who lead with their hearts instead of their heads. Sophia looked up from her coloring book. Mama, why are you sad? Quinn wiped her eyes quickly. I'm not sad, sweetheart. I'm just talking to Kennedy about grown-up things. Are you still our friend, Kennedy? Maya asked, looking up at him with serious eyes. Kennedy felt his remaining anger dissolve completely. He knelt down to Maya's level. Yes, I'm still your friend. Sometimes grown-ups have to talk about complicated things, but that doesn't change how much I care about you and your sisters and your mama. He stood up, looked at Quinn. I got the job. Her face lit up despite the tears in her eyes. You did? Kennedy, that's wonderful. They called me on the way back. They want me to start as soon as possible. How do you feel about it? Kennedy considered the question. Terrified, excited, grateful. He paused. And confused about what this means for us. What do you want it to mean? Kennedy looked down at the three little girls who had somehow become important to him in the span of a single day, then back at Quinn, brilliant, powerful, vulnerable Quinn, who had reminded him that taking risks with an open heart was the only way to build a life worth living. I want it to mean that this isn't over, he said. I want it to mean that we figure out how to be friends, or whatever this is, without the complications of what you can do for me professionally. Quinn smiled through her tears. I'd like that too. But I need you to promise me something. What? No more helicopters unless I specifically ask for one. Quinn laughed, and the sound made Kennedy realize that whatever complicated dynamics they'd have to navigate, he wasn't ready to walk away from this connection they'd found. Deal, she said, but I reserve the right to arrange really good coffee. I can live with really good coffee. 3 weeks later, Kennedy was sitting in his nearly empty Burlington apartment, surrounded by cardboard boxes, and trying to explain to Emma why they were about to embark on the biggest adventure of their lives. The formal job offer from Pinnacle Technologies had exceeded even his most optimistic expectations. Not just in salary, but in the comprehensive relocation package, flexible work arrangements, and genuine commitment to supporting his transition. As a single parent, so we're really moving to Seattle? Emma asked for the 5th time that morning, clutching her favorite stuffed animal and looking around at their familiar home with a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. We really are, Kennedy confirmed, taping up another box. Are you nervous? Emma considered this seriously. A little, but you said the new school has a really good science program, and there's a zoo with real elephants. There is, and the aquarium has a dome where you can walk underneath sharks. Cool. Emma brightened, then grew thoughtful again. Will we ever see Quinn and the triplets again? It was a question Kennedy had been asking himself daily. After their emotional conversation at Portland International, he and Quinn had exchanged regular texts and a few phone calls. She'd sent a congratulations card when he formally accepted the Pinnacle offer, and he'd updated her on his moving timeline. But there was an awkward uncertainty underlying all their communication, a sense that they were both carefully avoiding deeper conversations about what their connection might mean in the long term. Kennedy's phone buzzed with a text from Quinn. "How's the packing going? Are you and Emma ready for the big move tomorrow?" He typed back. "Almost ready. Emma's excited about the shark tunnel. The girls have been asking about nice Kennedy every day. They want to know if we're going to see you in Seattle." Kennedy stared at the text for a long moment before responding. "I'd like that, if you're ever in Seattle." "Actually," came Quinn's reply, "that's something I wanted to talk to you about. Do you have a few minutes for a phone call?" Kennedy stepped out onto his small balcony, overlooking the tree-lined street where Emma had learned to ride her bike, where they'd built snowmen last winter, where they'd lived quietly and safely for 6 years. "Hi," Quinn said when she answered his call. "How are you feeling about tomorrow?" "Terrified and excited in equal measure," Kennedy admitted. "It's the right decision, I know that. But leaving the only home Emma's ever known is harder than I expected. Change is always scary, even when it's good change. But Kennedy, I called because I have something to tell you, and I wanted you to hear it from me directly." Kennedy felt his stomach tighten. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Actually, something might be very right. But I need you to know that this isn't about you. The timing is purely coincidental. Quinn, you're making me nervous. What's going on?" "Skybridge is acquiring a controlling interest in Seattle-Tacoma International Airport." Kennedy blinked, processing this information. "You're expanding to Seattle?" "We've been in negotiations for 8 months. The deal was finalized yesterday. I'll be spending significant time in Seattle over the next year overseeing the transition and integration of operations." Kennedy sat down hard in one of his patio chairs. "So, you're going to be in Seattle?" "Regularly, yes. I'll probably keep my primary residence in Portland, but I'm looking at getting a place in Seattle for when I need to be there for extended periods." Kennedy, I need you to know that this has nothing to do with you. The acquisition talks started long before we met, but I also need you to know that when I realized the timing, I was happy. The idea of having friends in Seattle, of the girls having someone they care about nearby. It made a decision that was already right for business feel right on a personal level too. Kennedy was quiet for a long moment, watching his neighbor Mrs. Patterson water her garden across the street. "Are you sure it's not because of me? Because if it is, that's a pretty big gesture, and I'm not sure I'm ready for—" Kennedy, Quinn interrupted gently. "The deal is worth $2.3 billion. Trust me when I say that my feelings about anyone, no matter how wonderful, didn't influence that decision." Despite everything, Kennedy found himself laughing. "Okay, that's fair. A $2.3 billion decision probably isn't about wanting to see more of the guy who gave up his airplane seat. But wanting to see more of you did make me excited about spending time in Seattle instead of viewing it as just another business obligation. Kennedy felt something shift in his chest, a lightening he hadn't realized he needed. The prospect of starting over in a new city with Emma, while exciting, had also felt lonely in a way he hadn't quite acknowledged. Knowing that Quinn and her daughters might become part of their new life made Seattle feel less like a leap into the unknown and more like a step toward something that could be really good. "So what does this mean, practically speaking?" Kennedy asked. "It means that if you want, Emma and the triplets might get to see each other sometimes. It means that when you're feeling overwhelmed by everything being new, you'll have friends who want to help you figure it out. It means that maybe we get to find out what this connection between us looks like when we're not in crisis mode." Kennedy thought about Emma's question from that morning. "Emma asked if we'd see you again. She's gotten attached to the idea of the triplets. They ask about her too. Sophia keeps insisting that Emma would love Peanut the elephant." "She would," Emma has a thing for stuffed animals with personality. Kennedy, Quinn's voice grew softer. I know this is a lot. You're already dealing with a huge life change, and I don't want to add pressure or expectations. But I also didn't want you to be surprised if you hear about the Seattle acquisition in the news, or if you run into me at Pike Place Market in a few months. Kennedy smiled. I think Emma would be devastated if we lived in Seattle and didn't at least try to run into you at Pike Place Market. So you're okay with this? With the possibility of us being in the same city sometimes? Kennedy looked through the sliding door at Emma, who was now carefully packing her collection of science experiment kits, her face serious with concentration. 3 weeks ago, his biggest worry had been whether he could afford to fix the squeaky brake on his 12-year-old Honda. Now he had a job that would change their lives. He was moving across the country, and a woman who owned airports was arranging her business empire in a way that would bring them closer together. Quinn, he said, a month ago, if someone had told me I'd be moving to Seattle because a CEO I met on an airplane helped me get there via helicopter, I would have suggested they see a therapist. At this point, I'm pretty much ready for whatever comes next, even if what comes next includes 3 toddlers who think you're the most interesting person they've ever met. Especially that. After they hung up, Kennedy sat on his balcony for a few more minutes, watching Emma through the window as she made a list of everything she wanted to show the triplets if they ever visited Seattle. The evening light was soft and golden, and for the first time since accepting the Pinnacle offer, Kennedy felt truly excited rather than just nervous about their future. Emma appeared in the doorway. Dad, I was thinking, if we see Quinn and the girls in Seattle, should we take them to the Space Needle or the aquarium first? Kennedy grinned. What do you think? Definitely the aquarium. Sophia would love the jellyfish, and Maya would probably try to pet a shark if they let her. You know what, Em? I think you're absolutely right. As they headed inside to finish packing, Kennedy felt something he hadn't experienced since Anna died. The sense that their family might be about to grow in unexpected and wonderful ways. And for the first time in years, that possibility felt like a gift rather than a risk. 6 months later, Kennedy stood on the balcony of his Capitol Hill apartment, watching the sun set over Elliott Bay, while Emma and the triplets built an elaborate fort out of couch cushions in the living room behind him. The sound of their laughter, Emma's 8-year-old giggles mixing with Sophia, Maya, and Isla's toddler squeals, had become the soundtrack of his new life in Seattle. The transformation had been more complete than Kennedy could have imagined when he'd nervously boarded that delayed flight in Denver. His work at Pinnacle Technologies had exceeded every expectation. The projects were challenging and meaningful, his colleagues had become genuine friends, and David Harrison had proven to be not just a supportive boss, but a mentor who understood the complexities of building a career while raising a family alone. But it was the transformation in his personal life that truly amazed him. Quinn had been true to her word about spending significant time in Seattle. The acquisition of Seattle Tacoma International had required her presence 3 weeks out of every month for the first 4 months, and even now she maintained a small apartment downtown and visited regularly for operational oversight. What had started as business necessity had evolved into something that looked remarkably like 2 families choosing to build a life together. Kennedy, Emma called from inside. Maya is trying to put Peanut the elephant in charge of fort security, but Sophia says elephants can't be security guards because they're too nice. Tell them they need to negotiate a compromise, Kennedy called back, smiling at the familiar sound of diplomatic crisis in the living room. I think Peanut should be a consultant, came Isla's serious 3-year-old voice. Consultants help but don't make rules. Kennedy shook his head in amazement. Isla's vocabulary and reasoning skills never failed to surprise him. All 3 girls were remarkably bright, But Isla had a particular gift for problem-solving that reminded him strongly of Quinn. The sliding door opened behind him, and Quinn appeared with 2 cups of coffee, settling into the chair beside him with the easy familiarity that had developed over months of shared dinners, playground visits, and quiet evening conversations after the girls were in bed. "Successful fort negotiations?" she asked, handing him his coffee. "Peanut the elephant has been promoted to security consultant. Crisis averted." Quinn laughed. "That's definitely Isla's influence. She's been using business terminology ever since she heard me in a conference call last week." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the city lights begin to twinkle across the water. This had become their routine when Quinn was in town. She'd come over after work, they'd cook dinner together while the girls played, and then they'd sit on the balcony while Emma helped the triplets with whatever elaborate project had captured their imagination that day. "I got some interesting news today," Quinn said. Her tone, carefully neutral in the way Kennedy had learned, meant she was about to share something significant. "Good interesting or concerning interesting?" "Good, I think. But it affects both of us. So I wanted to talk to you about it before making any decisions." Kennedy turned to look at her. "What's going on?" "The Seattle acquisition has been more successful than anyone projected. Passenger satisfaction is up 28%. Operational efficiency has improved beyond our best-case scenarios, and we're ahead of schedule on every integration milestone." "That's fantastic. You should be proud. You've basically revolutionized how that airport operates." Quinn smiled. "Thank you. But here's the thing. The board wants to make me permanently based in Seattle. They want to establish our new regional headquarters here and have me oversee West Coast operations from this location." Kennedy felt his heart skip. "Permanently?" "They're offering to relocate me completely. Corporate housing assistance, school transfers for the girls, the whole package. I'd still travel for board meetings and major decisions, but Seattle would become my primary base of operations." Kennedy tried to keep his expression neutral, but inside his mind was racing. Having Quinn and the girls nearby occasionally had been wonderful. Having them here permanently felt like a dream he hadn't dared to imagine. "What do you think about it?" he asked carefully. "Professionally, it makes perfect sense. The West Coast operations are our fastest growing segment, and being based here would let me be more hands-on with the strategic direction. Personal preferences aside, it's the right business decision." "And personal preferences?" Quinn looked through the sliding door at the girls, who had now progressed from fort building to what appeared to be a complex puppet show involving Peanut the elephant and Emma's collection of science-themed stuffed animals. "Personal preferences are that I've been happier in the last 6 months than I've been in years. The girls adore Emma and you. They ask about you constantly when we're in Portland. And I..." She trailed off, then started again. "Kennedy, I need you to know that I'm not making this decision because of you. I'm making it because it's right for my career and right for my daughters. But I also need you to know that the idea of being here permanently, of this becoming our real life instead of just stolen weekends and extended business trips, that makes me incredibly happy." Kennedy reached over and took her hand. "It makes me happy too." "Really? Quinn, do you see how Emma lights up when you text that you're coming to town? Do you see how she started leaving drawings for the triplets on the refrigerator just in case they visit? You've become part of our family. All of you have." Quinn's eyes filled with tears. "I was so scared you'd think I was moving too fast or that this was too much pressure." "Hey," Kennedy interrupted gently. "Remember what you told me about accepting help gracefully? Sometimes accepting love gracefully is the same thing." Quinn blinked. "Love?" Kennedy felt his cheeks warm, but he didn't look away. "Yeah, love. The kind where your happiness matters to me as much as my own. The kind where Emma asks me every Sunday if Quinn and the girls are coming for dinner this week. The kind where I can't imagine our life here without you in it. Without you in it." Quinn was crying now, but smiling. I love you too, both of you. I love how patient you are with the girls, how you make Emma feel like she's the most important person in the world, how you've taught me that kindness isn't weakness, and that letting people in doesn't mean losing control. From inside, they heard Emma's voice. Dad, Quinn, you need to come see this right now. The girls taught Peanut how to do math. Kennedy stood up, extending his hand to Quinn. Ready to go see some elephant? Mathematics? Always, Quinn said, taking his hand. As they walked back inside together, Kennedy marveled at how completely his life had changed. 6 months ago, he'd been a struggling single dad, worried about paying rent. Now he had a career he loved, a daughter who was thriving in her new school, and a woman who owned airports but still got excited about elephant puppet shows. Dad, Emma said as they approached the couch fort, I have a really important question. What's that, sweetheart? When Quinn and the girls move here permanently, are we going to need a bigger apartment? Because I think Peanut is going to need his own room. Kennedy looked at Quinn, who was laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes again. You know what, Em? I think we're definitely going to need a bigger place. And as he watched Emma explain advanced mathematics to 3 very serious toddlers and 1 stuffed elephant, Kennedy realized that sometimes the best transformations are the ones you never see coming, the ones that start with a simple choice to be kind and end up reshaping everything you thought you knew about what family could look like. 1 year later, Kennedy stood in the same spot at Denver International Airport where this entire journey had begun. But everything about the moment was different. This time, he wasn't a nervous single dad worried about making rent. This time, he wasn't traveling alone. Emma bounced excitedly beside him, wearing a junior pilot pin that Quinn had given her and clutching a small suitcase covered in airplane stickers. Dad, do you think Captain Rodriguez will remember us? I think she might, Kennedy said, smiling as he watched Quinn approach with Sophia, Maya, and Isla in tow. The triplets, now confident 3-year-olds, were each wearing matching t-shirts that said World Travelers in glittery letters, Emma's idea for their first family vacation together. Flight 892 to Orlando is now boarding, came the announcement over the terminal speakers. Quinn reached them, slightly out of breath from herding 3 excited toddlers through the airport. Everyone ready for Disney World? Are there really princesses there? Sophia asked seriously, clutching Peanut the elephant. Real ones, Emma confirmed, with the authority of a 9-year-old who had done extensive research. And roller coasters and a castle and everything. Kennedy watched this exchange with the same sense of amazement that had become his constant companion over the past year. The house hunting had led to a beautiful 4-bedroom home in Queen Anne, with enough space for everyone, including Peanut's own designated corner in what had become the girls' room. Quinn's permanent relocation to Seattle had been seamless, with the triplets transitioning to a wonderful Montessori school just 6 blocks from Emma's elementary school. But it wasn't the logistics that amazed Kennedy. It was how natural it all felt. How Quinn's coffee mug had found its place next to his in the kitchen cabinet. How Emma had started calling the triplets my little sisters without anyone suggesting it. How Sunday morning pancake breakfasts had become sacred family time, with Kennedy flipping pancakes, while Quinn refereed disputes about syrup distribution, and Emma read stories to whichever triplet was willing to sit still long enough. Daddy, Maya tugged at Kennedy's shirt. Over the past months, all 3 girls had started calling him Daddy, a development that still made his throat tight with emotion every time it happened. Yes, sweetheart. Will you sit with me on the airplane? Mama says it might be bumpy, and you're good at making bumpy not scary. Kennedy crouched down to her level. Of course I'll sit with you, and if it gets bumpy, we'll just pretend we're riding a very slow roller coaster in the sky. As they boarded the plane, first class this time, Kennedy noted with amusement, he reflected on the conversation he'd had with Quinn just 2 weeks ago. They'd been sitting on their back deck, watching Emma teach the triplets how to plant tomatoes in their small garden, when Quinn had brought up something that had been on both their minds for months. "Kennedy," she'd said, "I want to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Always. Do you ever feel like we moved too fast? Like we went from strangers to family without enough time to figure out if this is really what we both want?" Kennedy had considered the question, seriously, because Quinn deserved a thoughtful answer. "Do you know what I realized the other day?" "What?" "We didn't move fast. We moved honestly. From the very first day, we were both exactly who we are. You were a single mom doing your best to balance everything. I was a single dad trying to do the same thing. Everything that's happened since then has just been us continuing to be exactly who we are, together." Quinn had smiled. "So you don't have any doubts?" "I have the same doubts any parent has about whether I'm making the right choices for my family. But Quinn, you and the girls aren't a choice I made. You're the family I found. There's a difference." "What kind of difference?" Kennedy had gestured toward the garden, where Emma was patiently helping Isla dig a hole that was definitely too big for the tomato seedling they were planning to plant. "The difference between deciding to love someone and discovering that you already do." Now, as they settled into their airplane seats, Kennedy between Maya and Isla, Quinn across the aisle with Sophia, and Emma in the row behind them, reading a book about marine biology to prepare for their planned visit to SeaWorld, Kennedy felt that same certainty. The flight attendant stopped by their seats. "Traveling with the whole family today?" "Yes," Quinn answered, and Kennedy caught the slight smile in her voice. "All of us." As the plane taxied toward takeoff, Kennedy thought about the conversation he'd had with Emma the night before. She'd been unusually quiet during bedtime, and when he'd asked what was on her mind, she'd surprised him with her answer. "Dad, do you think Mom would be happy about Quinn and the girls?" It was the first time Emma had mentioned Anna in months, not because she'd forgotten her mother, but because their life had become so full and present that the past felt less urgent. Somehow, Kennedy had sat on the edge of her bed, thinking carefully about his answer. "You know what I think, Em? I think your mom would be grateful that we found people who love us as much as we love them. She wanted us to be happy, and I think she'd be proud of the family we've built." Emma had nodded seriously. "I think so too, and I think she'd really like Quinn. They both worry about you working too hard." Now, as the plane lifted off, Kennedy felt Anna's presence not as a sadness, but as a blessing, a reminder that love doesn't diminish when it's shared. It multiplies. "Ladies and gentlemen," came the captain's voice over the intercom, "welcome aboard Flight 892 to Orlando. We're expecting a smooth flight today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey." Kennedy looked around at his family, Emma already deep in her book, the triplets pressing their faces to the windows to watch Seattle disappear below them, Quinn catching his eye and smiling with the kind of contentment that had nothing to do with business success and everything to do with being exactly where she belonged. "Daddy," Sophia called from across the aisle, "will you tell us the story about the airplane seat again?" "Which story is that?" Kennedy asked, though he knew exactly what she meant. "The one where you met Mama and saved our family." Kennedy glanced at Quinn, who was shaking her head with amusement. "I think your Mama saved our family, sweetheart." "Can we tell it together?" Emma suggested, looking up from her book. "Because it's really all of our story now." And so, as Flight 892 carried them toward their first family vacation, Kennedy and Quinn and Emma took turns telling the story of a delayed flight, a given-up seat, and 3 crying toddlers who brought together 2 families that didn't know they were looking for each other. It was a story about kindness, creating unexpected connections, about the courage to accept help, about love that grows from genuine care rather than calculated compatibility. But most of all, it was a story about how sometimes the best gifts come disguised as ordinary moments. A flight delay, a stranger's tears, a simple choice to help. By the time they finished the story, Maya and Isla had fallen asleep. Sophia was coloring quietly, and Emma had returned to her book. Quinn reached across the aisle and took Kennedy's hand. "Any regrets?" she whispered. Kennedy looked at their sleeping daughters, at Emma contentedly reading, at the woman who had reminded him that taking risks with an open heart was the only way to build a life worth living. "Only one," he said. "What's that?" "I wish I could go back and thank the person who delayed our original flight that day." Quinn laughed softly. "Why?" "Because if we'd been on time, we might have passed right by each other and never known what we were missing." And as the plane carried them toward new adventures, Kennedy Scott, former struggling single dad turned beloved father of 4, closed his eyes and felt grateful for every delayed flight, every kind gesture, and every moment of courage that had led them to this extraordinary, ordinary, perfectly imperfect family they'd built together. Because the truth was simple. It had never been about the seat. It was about the choice to see someone who needed help and deciding without hesitation to be the person who helped them. And sometimes when you lead with kindness, the universe has a way of giving you back everything you never knew you needed. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.